finishing up now on a sort of concluding set of slides. It will sort of cover the same thing, showing a different set of slides. This is 2009. If we didn't have any cash benefits, and this now includes unemployment and W-2, any cash benefits, but people were solely relied on market income, so their earnings. And we also have private sources, I think, so we can get child support in there. So poverty rate for children would be 25%. It's cut to 21% by cash benefits, and it's cut to 13% by non-cash and taxes. So the child poverty rate is really cut in half as a result of the public policies we have. I will say that in other countries, they're doing better. First of all, they have less child poverty to begin with because they have less wage inequality and less income inequality, and so they start out with a lower child poverty rate. And then other countries, European countries, I'm thinking of, or Canada, do more to give out both cash and tax credit, cash benefits, so that their poverty rates are much lower than ours. So whether this is half full or half empty, I think it's important to know that our public policies do reduce child poverty in half. It makes you worry what would happen if it didn't happen. So for the elderly, the story is different in that a lot of elderly, if they were relying solely on private income, would be poor, 51%. But then when we add in primarily Social Security, but SSI and unemployment and other things, we get down to 11%. And the elderly don't benefit as much from tax credits. Many of them are targeted to people who are working. You can't get the earned income tax credit unless you have earnings. Or children, you can't get the child tax credit unless you're an elderly living with your grandchild, then you could. And the elderly have lower participation in food stamps, and if they have a little, their income may be such that they get a small food stamp amount. For the working age group, they have the lowest poverty rate to begin with, because this is the age where you will have earnings usually, and then cash income brings down the poverty, and non-cash brings it down, so it goes from 18 to 11. Now finally, I'll show this slide for the 2 years we've looked at. We only have 2 years because this is a new poverty measure. We haven't done it before 2008. We're working on 2010. So we see that if we just looked at earnings and sort of private market income, poverty went up because of the recession. Even if you add in unemployment and other cash, it still went up. But if you add in tax credits and food stamps, it's essentially flat. So I would conclude that anti-poverty policies were effective in avoiding a rise in the number of poor in Wisconsin in 2009. The official statistics showed an increase in poverty, but there were public policies that offset that decline in earnings. There were built-in responses that are built into programs like Medicaid. Medicaid isn't exactly built into our estimates, but still it's important to acknowledge that both Medicaid and food share go up automatically in a time of recession to protect people, and it helps cushion poverty. But then there was Congress and the President acted in February 2009 and enacted a stimulus package which was targeted to the low-income population enough that it made a difference. And the state also played a role. Wisconsin is known for enrolling people in SNAP at higher rates than in other states. And so one reason, the benefits come from the federal government, so it's sort of a win-win if Wisconsin can enroll people because they get more federal resources into the state at just the cost of, half the cost of administering the program. And so Wisconsin has been aggressive in enrolling people in SNAP. And so the net effect is that poverty did not increase if you use our more comprehensive measure. Oops. Yes, not to overstate the good news. Saying that some people got food stamps in the EITC and it offset their earnings loss, I wouldn't want to say that that wasn't, traumatic for the family to lose their job. And also, I'm only looking at people with incomes below $22,000. If any of you saw that USA story that some of us got free in our hotel rooms, they were talking about a family that went from $90,000 to $30,000. Get a family of three. A family that goes from $90,000 to $30,000 in 4 years probably is suffering a lot of economic stress. But at $30,000, a family of three, you're not in my official statistics. So it's really important to say that we were not saying that economic times weren't worse in Wisconsin. We're saying that the poverty population was protected by some of the policies. I do have to say we're looking very early in the recession. The way the details of the way the survey is collected. It's collected over a whole year and asks for the previous year, so it really collects over 2008 and 2009. We're comparing that to a survey over 2007 and 8. So it's very early in the recession, and we don't know what will happen in 2010, 11, 12. And there have been threats to the government spending that has actually been effective. Here at the state level, that earned income tax credit was cut back in the current budget, and I've been reading the newspaper about efforts to privatize the food stamp enrollment, which could be threatening to using food stamps as a cushion. But I don't want to end on a negative note, so I do include in your packets tried to take our long detailed report and boil it down to an 800-page sort of editorial, talking about how really people spend a lot of time talking about the problems with government and how government spending is bad. And I just think people should know that it actually does reduce poverty. And so to the extent that one reason we hope our research is useful is just to show that sometimes our programs actually are effective at doing what they were supposed to do, which in the case of food stamps and EITC is to protect children from the worst effects of poverty. So the American Community Survey was where I got all my statistics. Their website's a little bit cumbersome, but theoretically you can, if you have somebody who's good with a computer and can spend 3 hours, you can download statistics for your area. You don't need to be a programmer. There's a custom generated table. It's just, I found it a little clumsy. And then if you want to see our reports, I put up the website for the Institute for Research on Poverty. I also put up my email. So I think if there are more questions, I'm willing to take them, or I don't know what the plan is. Questions.